All right, everybody, so welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. So today we're going to be talking about finesse techniques. Now, y'all know I'm a power fisherman. I really don't like finesse fishing, but either way, there's certain times of the year that you really got to slow down or either speed up, but you can still use those finesse techniques to target those heavily pressured fish. You know, you can fish them slow, you can fish them fast. There's multiple different ways to do it, but either way, I'm going to show you a few baits and how I rig them up and stuff, and you know, hopefully it'll help you catch more fish this summer. So stay tuned. This is something you definitely don't want to miss. All right, so the first technique I want to talk about is especially renowned across your blueback herring lake. So, you know, your Smith Lake, Lanier, Hartwell, places like that. Really anywhere there's spotted bass, there's a lot of people that love this technique, and that's the shaky head. So this particular shaky head right here, this is one made by Spot Sticker. So if you look, it's a little bit different than most of them. It has a 90-degree line tie. So that 90-degree line tie, what that does is it allows me to get through wood, rock, grass, stuff like that more efficiently without getting hung up so much. But now this one does have the screw lock, makes it a little bit easier. So one of the ways that I rig this up, I love using a Zoom Magnum shaky head finesse worm. This is 99% of the time what I'm going to be running. With that being said, it's a little bit bigger worm than you're typically going to run on your shaky heads than most people run, but with that being said, I think it just triggers more strikes because it's not something they see much. Plus it seems to get a lot more bigger bites, especially with it being a bigger worm. But now don't let it fool you. I mean, I've caught several, you know, small fish off of it also. But what I typically do with my shaky head, you're going to twist this worm up on your screw lock. Get it started here. I'm going to run this bait up until the head of the worm touches, you know, the jig head or shaky head. Then I'm going to make just a little bend in the worm, push straight down just like that. That keeps it perfectly weedless, perfectly straight. What this bait will do is it will fall down. Now, it'll fall straight, but now one of the biggest things is if you take your shaky head and keep a little bit more of a bend on it. You can also buy the other shaky heads where it doesn't have, you know, the screw lock, but it's actually got just the bend in the hook. You can take and drop this worm straight down when it hits the water, and it's going to actually spin in a circle. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Either way, it's a good way to trigger a lot of reaction bites. Now typically this bait right here, I'm casting it out there, I'm letting it hit bottom, and then I'm going to pick it up and drag it, and then as soon as you know, I get done picking it up, I reel my slack line up, I'm gonna sit there and shake that bait on slack line, and this tail is gonna sit there and kick is what it's gonna do while you're dead sticking it. And a lot of times that triggers those bites, especially those finicky pressured fish that we're all used to, you know, fighting during the summer. So that's a good way to catch these, you know, finicky bass is just pressured to death. So another way you can do this is if you rig this bait up with that bend in it, like I was talking about, where it gives it that spiral action as it's falling, you can throw this bait around docks and stuff. You can skip it under docks and it will have that fall action. But now typically I'm not letting this bait hit bottom unless it's maybe a dock that's, you know, actually like cemented into the ground, or you know, it's got the poles in the ground. But floating docks is typically what I'm going to use this bait on. It's going to spiral down, and a lot of times it'll trigger bites. As it's spiraling, I'll let it go for just a few seconds, then I'll pop. You know, let it spiral again, pop. Same thing until I get it back to the boat, and just repeat the process over and over again as long as I'm fishing docks. So shaky head is a great option. All right, so now my setup for shaky heads, this is a little bit different. So I'm running a 7-foot medium heavy. This is a Lew's. Use whatever rod you can afford. It's really personal preference, but I've got a Lew's. I'm running a Laser SG1 7-foot medium heavy action. Now I'm running 10-pound braided line to an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. If you haven't saw my knot on how to tie a fluorocarbon to braided line, check that video out. I'll probably have it linked at the end. But it's Red Phillips knot, super tiny knot, easy to cast. But the reason I do this is it eliminates that twist that you get on your spinning reel. So, you know, if you're running monofilament or straight fluorocarbon, you'll start getting twists in your line, and when you go to cast, eventually it's just going to mess all kinds of stuff up. You got to get those twists out. All right, so the next technique I want to talk about is really when those bass are, you know, chasing threadfin and stuff like that, herring, it doesn't really matter, gizzard, shad, whatever. But a Demiki. So we've all heard about the Demiki rig. This is a great technique. One of the biggest things, I do use a Demiki head. I don't know, if you do know, drop it down in the comment section below. But the reason I use the Demiki head is when this bait hits the water, it sits perfectly horizontal, just like this. Okay, so it's not tilted up, it's not tilted down, it's sitting just like this, and then you can work that rod tip and that tail's just going to kick right in front of that fish, and it triggers a lot of those bites, especially when those fish get real lethargic. So, you know, when you see those fish on your 2D sonar directly up under your boat, the Damiki is going to be a key factor, just like the drop shot and stuff. The drop shot's a good option, you know, for those fish that are just sitting directly under your boat. If you're running forward facing sonar, you can also use this bait just like that. But anytime you got fish directly under your boat, the Damiki rig, your drop shot and stuff like that is going to be perfect. So with a drop shot, typically what I'm doing, I'm running the, if you haven't saw my drop shot video, I'll put a card in or a link or whatever, and y'all can check it out. But it shows you exactly how I rig up my drop shot. But I want my drop shot hook sitting straight up towards the tip of my rod, okay? And when I rig my baits up, I typically use robo worms. I have a lot of confidence robo worm, use whatever you like, but I nose hook this, or either I'll hook it through the middle to give it that wacky rig style, but 99% of the time I'm nose hooking this bait. And I'm doing the same exact thing. I'm sitting there twitching my rod tip, and it gives that worm action as I'm dead sticking that weight. Now, another thing you can do, if you're targeting those bass that's close to the bank and they get real finicky, maybe some, you know, post spawners or anything like that, just take this for, you know, the spawn season during the spring and stuff. A lot of times those fish that are close to buckbrush and stuff like that are really finicky, hard to catch, maybe they're post spawn, you know, some bucks, females, whatever, you can take and throw those drop shots up close to the buckbrush and stuff like that and catch a lot of good fish off of just a simple drop shot. Now, if I'm throwing up against buckbrush and stuff like that, I'm using heavier pound line. I'm typically going like 15-pound fluorocarbon and stuff. But either way, since we're talking about finesse, let's talk about the setup. Same 10-pound braided line, 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. I'm running this is a Powell 6'10" extra fast action medium rod. Okay, so medium extra fast action is super limber. Whenever y'all watch my live videos of the pond management videos and stuff, this rod is typically what I'm running 90% of the time, okay? It is super limber, but it does have a good stiff backbone about halfway up the rod. So you still get those good hook sets, but you don't really have to worry about that backbone of pulling the bait out of the fish's mouth, especially with these smaller hooks and stuff like that. So that's a good technique, especially when the fish are close up under the boat and you just need to get that bite when they're real finicky. All right, so another technique I want to talk about, this is a really great one, really any time of year. I mean, you can catch them winter, spring, summer, fall, it doesn't really matter. If they're chasing shad, this is just a great option. I love this technique on my blueback herring lakes. It's just a swim bait. Now, y'all do know I talk about the Strike King Rage Swimmer a lot, but if y'all been watching my recent videos, Spur Mountain Outdoors has been wearing fish out on the Rapala Crush City. This is the first day that I've used this, and I absolutely love this bait. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. It's a different bite than your typical swim bait bite. It's not that don't, and then you set the hook. This is a daggum, they just eat it, they crush it. But what I did is I bought the 1/4 ounce laser sharp swim bait head, and then I've got the Rapala Crush City 3-inch. And typically, what the action that I'm trying to get out of this bait, this is the reason that I bought that laser sharp swim bait head. This one that I had tagged in or linked into one of the other videos earlier, but it actually has a wobble, so it kind of wobbles off to the side a little bit. It doesn't just swim straight with that boot tail action. It's kind of got that wiggle that it just seems to make the fish bite, especially if they're used to seeing swim baits and stuff, because I feel like I could have threw, you know, a Strike King Rage Swimmer all day today and I may have got a fish or two, but the bigger bites that I got come off of this bait, and I mean, they crushed it, they just ate it. So that is a great option. With that being said, I'm throwing the summer, let's see here, Sexy Shad, you know, it's a great summer color. It can mimic blueback herring, it can mimic threadfin shad, it can mimic small gizzard shad if you have small gizzard shad. So, you know, keep your color simple, usually white, green, blue. You know, I don't buy a whole bunch of colors, I got 3 colors. And then, like I said, with the head, no eyes, it's just straight up, just daggum metal, okay, or lead. So, but my setup here, this is the Duck It Ghost I've had forever, 7-foot medium action rod, medium fast action rod. I got a lot of limberness in the tip, super stiff backbone, okay, about quarter of the ways up, or from the tip of the rod. It just allows for good hook sets with the tip, and then I've got that stiff backbone where I can keep tension on it, because you'll notice with swim baits and stuff, if you don't keep that tension on them, a lot of times they're just going to spit the bait, and then it's just trouble from there. So and then all my reels are the same. This is the Lew's American Hero. It's a super cheap reel. I think they're like 30 or 40 bucks. I've run these my entire life. I absolutely love them. Not only does it support veterans or anything like that, but it's just a good reel. Great drag system. I absolutely trust the drag system 100%. It's a fast reel too. I think it's, I don't know the exact gear ratio. I'm sure it's got it on here somewhere, but it's faster than most of your, spinning reels. So it's a great option. But either way, guys, I hope the video helped you. If it did, make sure to like, subscribe for more content. If you got any questions, as always, comment down below. And we got members only now, so if you want to help further support the channel, it's $2 a month. You get my content early, and then you can also ask your questions early, okay? So, and if you have video suggestions, make sure to drop that down in the comments also. But either way, guys, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. No, I'll literally start reeling, and if I feel like tension behind it, then yeah, I'll make a quick reel turn, throw right behind my. That one looked like it was too small.